Welcome everybody, thanks for tuning in. You know who I am by now. Now, we're just talking, it's a bit of a revisited video. Now, a good number of weeks ago, probably not so many videos back for you in the sequence that I'm doing, I did the H&G water-based gloss. Now, you've seen the video thumbnail there. Hanford and Green, acrylic high gloss in white. Now, I'm not that enamoured with water-based glosses anyway, and I've told you before that I find water-based glosses haven't got that coverage stroke capacity. They lack body. Quite often some of them go off slightly and go yellow quite quickly, even though they're supposed to be a water-based paint. Now, some of my sample tins that I've got just off camera are very nice, and they're very nice to apply. I know I often say to people, yeah, I do get tins of paint to try, but unless you try it yourself, just don't go off my opinion, because yeah, I have been in the trade, what is it, since 1990, so we're looking at 34 years this year. I have got my advanced craft, I have got my teaching certificates, I have done lecturing, I know how to apply paint, I know what I'm looking for in a paint. That I'd hope you would probably listen to me when I say a paint's got to be X, Y and Z. Now, there's some people are going to be putting up with paints that they've probably been using for forever and a day, and they're not willing to try and branch out into something new. But hopefully through the channels of YouTube, you might be seeing people using paints that you've not used before, and you might go, I'll give that a go. Well, this is one of these paints that it was a new paint to me before, well, we're into the new year of 2024 now, so February-ish, back end of 2023, I touched base with H&G and they said, try some of our paints. We've gone through all that. I don't want to talk about it, but I tested it on this door and I was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, because I wasn't surprised, and you've probably seen that video. I wasn't surprised with the outcome of this paint. Now, I've kept this door back, Doris the door back, so I could see what it was like a good number of weeks on, to see whether the colour, the retention of the colour, the light fastness has actually stayed, what the gloss level's like. Now, I've got to be fair, I've got to be honest. That gloss level is still pretty good. I mentioned to you PU gloss. I mentioned to you Futura 90, the Technos, which is a very good gloss level, but it does deteriorate over not that many days. And if you've not used it, I'd say give it a go, because there's the half prime, which is your grip primer, and then you use your PU gloss. Give it a go. The people that are already using this, hand on heart, tell me what you actually think of that gloss level, because I've used it on a number of jobs. It's a lovely paint to apply. It flows out nicely. There is that little bit more body to it than some of the other paints, but gloss level wise, it looks good for that first few days, and then come back to it and it looks like it's just dropped off that gloss level to a decent soft sheen vinyl silk. Not being rude to that, it is a very nice paint, but we're wanting something. If you're talking about water-based glosses, you're wanting something with a decent gloss level that feels you've still got that traditional oil-based sheen gloss, but in a water-based form. So coming back to H&G's gloss, I was a little bit, I'm going to be over-exaggerating it to say ropey. It's not particularly ropey like you've put something on that's drying and it's leaving all the brush marks, but it doesn't flow out. I won't say it's the best paint I've tried for flowing out. Where I just caught, bearing in mind I know how to paint a door and I can keep a wet edge going, just even though wet edges were there and I just caught it with a bristle, you could just see it slightly now. But opacity over that door, bearing in mind, you know that I used their all primer, all-purpose primer, and then went over with 2 coats. It needed an extra coat. You'd have needed a third gloss coat to get that looking better, because as I'm looking around these mouldings, it's still very grinny. But I hope you can see what I'm seeing. Look at this gloss level. Let me just bring me light in a bit more. Oh, nearly lost it. Look at the gloss level on there. That is pretty impressive for a water-based paint. I think that is, I'll just see it there. Look, I think that is one of the better water-based glossers that I've seen. That is a pure, proper acrylic and not being a hybrid. And when I mean hybrid, it's got a touch of oils in it, touch of bits and pieces that it's not that easy to wash your brush out. Now, to be fair for Johnson's, they've got their aqua gloss, which is your benchmark. And if you've seen that video there, I call it the brush killer, because we don't use that anymore because we were going through that much meths, white spirit, cleaning out time, that it just cost effectiveness of using that paint. It's not a nice paint to use when it starts coming to cleaning your stuff out. And don't forget, if you are new to water-based paints, don't be thinking that you're going to keep the same brush on the go all day for a day's worth of painting and not washing it out. You want to be washing it out. If I say 40 minutes to an hour, just keep it regular, just so it doesn't start clagging up around the base of the bristles, around the stock, on the length out. And if you don't know the autonomy of a brush, don't be rude, Google it. I've spoken about it times many. But we don't want brushes being wrecked. We want something that we can wash the brushes out. And this is a paint that I could do that. Where I'm just a bit disappointed with this, like I said on the video, the actual opacity for the coverage wasn't there. It needs more body to it. It needs a little bit more of something in it to help it flow out. And it'd be interesting. And I might, when I've got time, I might keep this door a little bit longer before I paint over it. I might get a roller and see what it's like to roll and see whether it flows out on its own accord without adding any additive to it, without adding any water to it, and see if it naturally can disperse and self-level. Let's call it self-leveling. But on the whole, this hasn't done that. I can just see a little bit of brush marking. And I know that Doris the Door's had a lot of paint it over these last few years since we started YouTube. But I can tell which paints are the ones that are what I've done historically and what are the newer paints that's on here, leaving me that brush mark. But, and it's the big but, there's no disputing that's a really good gloss. That's a really nice gloss. And for me to you to watch this, I'm probably I might be a good month in from when I first did this. So it's probably 6 or 7, 8 weeks on. I'm not sure, depends how this video goes out for the date stamp on it. But let's have it right. That, if you can see it, is a decent gloss level. So for that, it gets a thumbs up. Where it doesn't get its thumbs up is the way it flows out. It could just do with a little bit more. So I don't know. I'm not a paint chemist. It could just do with something in it that helps you apply it to make it go on easily, which it wasn't too bad a paint to go on, but you want it still with an open time that you can lay off and feather out around your mullions, your cross rails, your latch rails down at the bottom, and your kick rails, your styles, your panels. What you don't want to be doing is feeling the need that you've got to tape off areas because you don't want a bristle catching what you've already done. But on the whole, for a revisited paint, and this is what I'm trying to do to see what they like, a revisited paint, that is not a bad gloss. And let's do the pound coin test. I expect to see some marks on it from the actual metal. Yeah, you can see a pound coin. If you're in America and you're watching, this is our old Queen. Can you see it? We have got new coinage coming out with King Charles on, but this is Queen Elizabeth. So we've still got coins that have got the old Queen on it. That is marking it, which, to be fair, I would say any paint would be doing that sort of marking if I got a coin on it. But all in all, yeah, the paint's pretty good for its gloss level. It just needs tweaking. And I'm going to ask the question to you. What would you do to a paint to tweak it, to get it to something that you would actually say, that's what I want to be using? It's a water-based paint that's got decent gloss level. The white's very good on it. I don't want to forget that. The white's very good, but it just lacks that something. What is that something we're wanting? As a decorator, as a DIYer, as a semi-pro, as a professional, what would you want in that paint to make it better? And that is the big question. And that probably goes out to all paint manufacturers. What is it that we need in that we can go back to what we were, 20 years ago with paints that have got body to it? But I don't want to go back 20 years to be using oil-based paints. I've moved on from that now. Move with the times. And that's what I'm going to say to you. Move with the times. And say to other people, please try the paints out. There's not just one paint for you. There's other paints out there. Do a bit of a mix and match. One job might be one set of paint. Another job might be another one. And give them a try. But the white and the gloss, thumbs up. The opacity, the flow out with the bit of that ropiness that now we're a good number of weeks on, it gets a bit of a thumbs down on that one. But onward and upward, we'll try some more paints out as and when they come to me.